We have it, boys. The orcs are here. We've got new orc stuff to talk about, and I have really, really good news. I've also got some really bad news for you. So it's going to be a bunch, but let's jump right onto it. Number one piece of good news is that the new detachments are flavorful and awesome. A little bit of bad news, they're not particularly good. However, one of them is significantly better than the other, and there are cool little tricks that we can utilize in them. Another really, really big piece of great news, though, is the fact that jeez, Wazdaka Gutsmech, his points have been revealed at 175. This is actually right about the exact points that we want him to be, because it's a little bit more than you would be hoping for, but it's also low. It's also low enough where he's still really good, and it's high enough that it does seem to be avoiding the possibilities of penalties and nerfs. Now, fair play. This is the end of the edition. We're probably not getting any points updates, but it's probably hard to expect him to actually get nerfed if there is like an emergency data slate or anything that does happen to pop up, due to the fact that his points are a little I wouldn't say high, but they're definitely reasonable. It's not low points for him, and he is a very, very good model. And just so you guys know, he can slot very well into both of the detachments that we're going to talk about today, but he likely slots best into Warhorde. He can also slot well into really any detachment you want. He's good in tactical. He's good everywhere. He's just an incredible model, and we're going to love having him in the army. That's the biggest thing that we actually have. That's the most impactful thing to have Orcs' competitive strength. But the two new detachments are cool, so let's go over them right now. And just understand that these are fun. They're cool. Blitz Brigade might actually have some real play around it with some things. Speedwaaagh is a meme, but it's going to be a fun meme. And if you want to play it, you can do some cool stuff with it. So Speedwaaagh, you guys saw the reveal earlier. You probably saw it yesterday. That's when I saw it. But the army rule has already been revealed. Each time a speed freaks or truck unit, excluding aircraft, from your army advances, it can use its turbo. And if it does, just don't make an advance roll. Instead, you just give it a movement characteristic of 24 inches. And they get assaults. Now, there is a very severe penalty with this, because that sounds insane. And it is insane. Fair play. I mean, it's absolutely insane. But there's a limitation to this where you cannot pivot at all, and you can only move in a one-line plane. Which means you can't go this way and then that way to get around terrain. No, you have to go in one line. You only get to move one line. So if there's a wall in front of you, you can't move. And it also very specifically says in the designer's note right beneath it, I'll just read it to you. You also cannot declare charge, even if another rule, like your army rule, the Waaagh, the entire thing about Orks, would allow you to. You can't declare a charge in a turn in which you advanced if you use your turbo boostas. So basically, the detachment rule isn't useless, but it 100% anti-synergizes with all other aspects of the Orks. But it does give you assault, which is great, because Orks are well known for how amazing our shooting is. This is frustrating, and it also only applies to speed freaks and trucks. Now, I'm glad that trucks were included. This does enable some cool play with utilizing our monstrous Firing Deck 12. So you could have a 24-inch moving truck with assault with, I don't know, like 2 units of tank buses in there. That's actually kind of cool. And there's some other things that we can do to buff that up even more. So there are some cool options, but just know going into this that this is for fun. You're not going to be playing competitively with this unless you're a psychopath. And if you are, I'm here for it. I love you and I appreciate you, and I'm ready to see what you come up with. But let's talk about some of these enhancements here. You've got the Def Killer Wartrike model. Each time the bearer unit uses its turbo, its unit can move horizontally through terrain features. Now, this is cool. It means that you can do that 24-inch move straight through terrain features. You still can't pivot. You still can't go move in multiple lines. So if you're going to be utilizing this for move blocking, you better have your unit deployed in like a wide range already, pre-deployed, so that when they do their 24 inches, they just go straight forward and do a full-on turn 1 move block. Now, this actually is a interesting strategy, because you could utilize this to do a 100% move block for your opponent in turn 1. You are sacrificing at minimum a unit of Warbikers and a Def Killer Wartrike with an enhancement in order to do that, but it is something that you can actually do. Let me kind of show you real quick. This enhancement is, oh geez, which one is it? Speedwaaagh, where are we? Speedwaaagh is right here. That is the custom shock box. That is only a 10-point enhancement, so it's not very expensive. And it's something that you can actually do. A full-on turn 1 move block with 1 unit, sacrifice, what is it, 180 points? I think that's totally doable, and it might be really, really valuable, but you'll have to be pre-deployed in such a way to do that, which is going to be really hard on most terrain sets, because if you go second, you just get shot to death, and that's that. All right, then we have the Detachment. Each time the bearer uses its Mechaniac ability, you can also give Rapid Fire 1 to a vehicle for all the ranged weapons equipped by it. This is actually really, really interestingly good. It's really good. Hilariously, it's much better on the units that are not speed freaks. Like, it would be good to be able to give this to a Morkanaut, for example. Just give all of its weapons Rapid Fire. That would actually be relatively good. But on the Morkanaut, which you can use on this, doesn't benefit from anything else in the Speedwaaagh, which is a little frustrating. But this is actually kind of an interesting enhancement. You can also utilize this to turbo boost that truck that we're talking about earlier. Have a truck use its turbo boost, so it goes 24 inches straight, fill it up with 12 breakable, or not breakable, 12 tank busters, give it Rapid Fire 1, then it's going to be shooting 10d3 plus blast plus, 10 shots for the Rapid Fire. That's actually pretty cool, and plus 1 hit. So that's actually really kind of an interesting stratagem. I think it might be the only really, really interesting stratagem of this attachment, but it actually is kind of cool. Then we have the Super Burny Fuel. Change the attack characteristic of the bearer's Kilojet burner weapon to 3d6, and change the attack characteristic of the bearer's Kilojet cutter weapon to 3. Okay, so his weapon that hits on 5s gets 2 more shots. That's awesome. Master Mechanologist, a big mech model only, improve the ballistic skill characteristic of the bearer's ranged weapons by 1. This was almost a good enhancement. Unfortunately, it just makes a big mech hit on 4s. And, okay. So, all the enhancements basically are, most of the enhancements are swings and misses. The one for Deathkiller Wartrike is actually interesting if you're trying to make this detachment work. And the Dakamech is also interesting for some of the things that you can actually do with this detachment as well. All right, fair play. Stratagems on to move your movement phase. 1 Orks unit from your army that has not been selected to move this phase. This is a objectively good strat. Until the end of the turn, you're eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which you fell back or advanced. Of course, you can't use this if you also use your turbo boost. So if your unit is doing the entire purpose of taking the detachment, which is using the detachment rule, you're not allowed to use your other rules, which that feels great. Anyway, this is nice because it's full fallback shooting charge and advanced shooting charge. It does have to be used before you select the unit to move, so you do not get to see your roll before you use it. But it is a good strat for Orks. All right, Dead Killy Construction, and it's on any Ork unit, which is actually very relevant. This actually is really good. It does open up this detachment for other Ork units that are not just speed freaks and trucks. Then we have Dead Killy Construction. This one is a little bit overblown by people, I believe. 1 Speed Freaks or truck unit. Until the end of the phase, melee weapons equipped by models in your unit have the Lance ability. Oh, great, I can put Lance on my truck. And if your unit made a charge move this turn, until the end of the phase, add 1 to the damage characteristic of those weapons. So it only works if you charge, because Lance only procs when you charge, and you only get the +1 damage when you charge. So it doesn't work in any ongoing fights, but it's still an interesting stratagem. People immediately are saying, oh, war bikers are scary now, but unfortunately, when you do the math, your war bikers are actually still failing to kill a 5-man unit of Marines with this stratagem. You're only killing, I think, 4.1 Marine bodies, which is sad. But it's not useless. It is useful-ish when you stack it with, say, a Deathkiller Wartrike that's leading the War Bikers. Now the Deathkiller is also going to be +1 of the damage. It's also going to get Lance. Then your Power Claw gets +. So it could be a little bit useful. Not a bad stratagem. It just does have some limitations. Mobile Daka Storm. Select 1 Speed Freaks or truck unit that has shots. And then until the end of the phase, all other Speed Freaks or truck units that shoot that unit are now +2 to strength. This is really, really interesting in certain scenarios. So now suddenly our Defcopters, which by the way, Defcopters do like this detachment, they get to go 24 freaking inches and then still shoot because they get assault on their guns. Now they can go to strength 11 with their twin link rockets, which is actually pretty dang cool. It's a really, really big buff on the amount of damage that they're actually going to be able to get through. Strength 9 to strength 11 is actually a huge breakpoint. Still only at AP2. It is what it is. This would also be quite useful on that rocket truck that we were talking about earlier. That rocket truck goes out, goes 24 inches. You've got all the tank buses inside of it. Now they're rapid fire with their blast, +1 hit from the mech. And now they're also going to be +2 strength, so strength 11 rockets that are coming out, which is also a huge breakpoint. Then we have Dust Trails. Your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. 1 Orks unit, so it can be used on anything. I always love stratagems that are not keyword locked. Until the end of the phase, your unit has cover. Okay. So we already have Go to Ground as a generic strat, which can give any infantry unit cover. And now we can just give our units cover, and in addition, where basically everything always has cover. That's awesome. It's not even -1 to be hit, it's just cover. That's a terrible strat. Special ammo. When you're shooting phase, 1 Orks unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit, excluding torrent weapons, have the anti-monster and anti-vehicle abilities. This is fine. It's totally fine. I don't think it's that big a damage boost in most scenarios. I think people are immediately considering, hey, how do I use this on, say, flash kits? But your flash kits are already going to have their once per game lethal activated. And Strength 6 is already winning most monsters and vehicles on 5s anyway. It is a slight damage boost, and that's fine. It's decidedly a fine unit. It is kind of hilarious to be able to give, like, I don't know, Gretchen anti-monster vehicle 4-up, which is actually super funny. Then we have Evasive Maneuver. Until the opponent's fight phase, 1 Speed Freaks or Truck unit from your army that is not within engagement range can go back into strat reserves. This is good. Uppy Downy is just a good stratagem, and we like it. Overall, this is a bad detachment. I'm really looking forward to someone coming up with really interesting things and proving me wrong on it. I don't believe it'll happen. If it does happen, I'm going to give you a huge freaking shout out. I'm not going to be playing around with this very much, but some people will, and some people will do fantastic things with it. Okay, let's go on to the next one, and then we'll wrap this one up. I do believe Blitz Brigade has some more interesting options to us. It definitely is not obviously great, and it's going to take a little bit of time for us to maybe experiment around with it. There are some cool things in it, but yeah, it's very classic Orc detachments that GW is making for us in 10th edition. Hopefully 11th edition brings us better stuff, even though these are fun. You know, shout out for creativity and coolness factor. All right, detachment rule for the Blitz Brigade. Each time an Orks unit from your army disembarks from a transport, turns out this is something that Orks like to do. We like to disembark from transports, and it is it's not keyword locked, meaning any transport. So this means that if you're using Gorkanauts and Morkanauts and stuff, or even, dare I say it, the Stampa, don't use the Stampa, but if you did, you would get to benefit from disembarking from them as well. So you get to reroll advance and charge rolls. That's cool. Like that's generally a good detachment rule. It'd be a lot better if it was like other armies where that would have been, hey, your units just get to reroll advanced charge rolls. But, you know, it is what it is. Run-in boots. 1 infantry character. Each time you make a charge roll for the bear's unit, if that unit disembarked from a transport this turn, add 1 to the result. This absolutely sucks. This is such a bad enhancement. It's like, why not just give +1 to charge rolls? Like if I had fish on last Tuesday and I forgot to shower on the previous Monday, then I could get this 1 benefit. That's it. All right, whatever. Blitz Captain, Orcs character model only. After both players have deployed their armies, if the bear's unit, or any transport it is embarked with, on the battlefield, select up to 3 Orc vehicle units, you can redeploy them. This is a redeploy that's just bad because this is a typical redeploy which is available in many detachments. It's just restricted to vehicle units only. Okay. Just give us a worse enhancement of what everyone else gets. Supercharged Squig Oil Mech model only. Each time the bearer uses its Mechaniac ability until the end of the turn, you can reroll charge rolls for the selected vehicle model's unit. Okay, fair play. Not bad. Reasonable enhancement. Nothing I'm ever going to build around, but reasonable enhancement. And then we have the Tough Get. 1 Orcs character model. At the end of the phase in which the bearer's unit disembarked from a transport, if that unit is battle shocked, it is no longer battle shocked. Now, a lot of people are going to be scratching their heads on the first time you read this. And I know I did too. And I was like, but that is not useful because you're never battle shocked when you disembark from a transport. If you're inside a transport when the transport is blown up. So if the transport is destroyed and you have to emergency disembark, you become battle shocked. Then you immediately become unbattle shocked. This will enable you to utilize strats and stuff like that. Mount up lads. Let's go on into these stratagems. Mount up lads. End of the fight phase, 1 Orcs infantry unit from your army that is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, and one friendly transport it is able to embark within. If you're wholly within 6 inches of that unit, then you can hop into it. This is always a good type of stratagem whenever it pops up in the game. This is useful. It can be challenging to plan around it, but with our hyper durable transports in this game, like uh, for example, our battle wagons, which are hyper durable. I mean, when you run the math on it, it takes 30 or 21 las cannons on average to kill a battle wagon. Yes, modifiers, etc., can make that a lower score. But battle wagons are a very, very durable unit for a relatively low cost. They're effectively land raiders that are 60 points cheaper when you basically break it down, with better transport capacity and much better melee, although practically useless shooting. This is actually very, very good for being able to utilize kill things and then hop back in, get out of danger. So quite a useful stratagem. Armored Duelist. Your shooting phase. One Orks vehicle from your unit that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit makes an attack that targets a monster or vehicle, you get to add 1 to the hit and wound roll. This is a good strat. This is just good. Suddenly, your Def Coptas, hitting on 4s, strength 9 plus 1 to wound, and twin linked. Now their shooting is actually quite decent to a large proportion of vehicles and monsters in the game. This is solid. You can utilize this on your knots. You can utilize this on your truck that's utilizing firing deck. This is actually a very good stratagem for 1 CP. I like it a lot, and this is one of the reasons why I'm saying Blitz Brigade probably has real play. It's just going to take a little bit of time to really narrow it down. Right off the bat, your Tank Buster truck, for example, boom, pretty dang solid. All right, Mechanized Brutality. Your movement phase. 1 battle wagon, kill rig, or hunter rig unit from this army that has not been selected to move until the end of the phase. Each time a unit disembarks from your unit, after your unit makes a normal move, that disembarked unit can still eligible to declare a charge this turn. Okay, now a lot of people will overlook this stratagem because they'll be like, hey, when we declare wall, we get advance and charge anyway. That's just going to be faster than paying pivots and moving our transport up. You're not wrong. But what this allows you to do is it allows you to bypass reactive moves, which is something that Orks had no ability to do. So if I am, say, trying to charge Victrix Honor Guard, which can be very challenging because they're going to have to be able to spend a CP to do a reactive move when I end a move within 9 inches of them. Well, now what I can do is I can move my battle wagon up 9.1 inches away from the Victrix Honor Guard, then disembark my Orks wholly within 3 of the transport, which will give me a 6-inch charge. That disembarkation after the transport has moved does not count as a normal move. It's not a normal move, which means your opponent cannot reactive move to it utilizing their stratagem. So this actually is a cool way for us to get around something that we historically have struggled with. I don't mind the stratagem. It's a little bit niche, because most of the time you will just disembark and then advance a charge into your opponent, but this is still quite useful. So I don't have an issue with this stratagem. Once again, Blitz Brigade might have a little bit of juice. And then Impervious for 1 CP. Your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. 1 battle wagon, kill rig, or hunter rig unit that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets your unit, if the strength characteristic was higher than toughness, blah, 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 -1 to wound. Decisively fine. Now, your battle wagons are pretty much always going to be T12 anyway. So most time things are being wounding them on 4s, but in case a lancer shoots at them or something with super high strength like a Tau railgun, for example, shooting them, -1 to wound could be relatively useful for them. This would be a heck of a lot better if it was just be -1 to be wounded. But not a bad strat. It also opens up the ability for us to take battle wagons without the ARD case, meaning that we can use the firing deck out of it. So they would drop to T10, but you could always use 1 CP just to make people -1 to wound if their strength is higher than that. This is quite interesting. Not bad. I'm here for it. Okay, run them down. Your movement phase. 1 battle wagon, kill rig, or hunter rig. Select up to 2 other friendly orc vehicle or monster units within 6 inches. And until the end of the turn, your unit and each unit you selected can now declare a charge when they advance. They can't shoot, but they can at least charge when they advance. Okay. There'll be times where you utilize this, especially with this style army where you're pretty guaranteed to be running minimum double battle wagons. And orc vehicle or monster units is actually unrestricted, so you could utilize this on, say, knots. You could utilize this on Def Coptas. You could utilize this on several things. It's really not a bad stratagem when you think about it. You have to target the battle wagon, kill rig, or hunter rig, but then you could apply it to other monsters and vehicles, and that's kind of cool. And then lastly, we have Ews in Trouble now. You get to select 1 battle wagon hunter or killer rig. And this is right in your opponent's shooting phase after they have shot. One infantry unit that's inside your model can disembark and make a surge move. It's a D6 surge move, and they can end an engagement range with this move. This is a very good stratagem because you're guaranteed a 4-inch move basically with this. So a 3-inch disembark, right? Wholly within 3 inches, so it's a 3-inch disembark, and then you roll a d6. So your opponent kind of has to be standing, what would it be? You would have to be standing 10 inches away to not be tagged, to not be at risk at all when you shoot this unit. Because you could always roll a, what do you call it? You can disembark wholly within 3, roll a 6. So they're going to have to, and that would get you 9 inches directly. So if they're 9.1 inches, you'd be within range of them, and you'd have them tagged. So this does force your opponent to kind of stand 10 inches away when they shoot your transports, which is actually quite good. So Blitz Brigade actually might have some real play. I kind of like it. I'm kind of here for it. Speedwaaagh is a meme, although there's some cool stuff in there. I really hope people run it. But the cool thing is Wazdaka Gutmech. This man is alive, and he's 175 points. That's very, very usable. It's a little bit more than I think we were hoping he would cost, but it's also higher than we were thinking it would cost, which means it's much less likely to get, early nerfed like Orks are notoriously for getting early over nerfed. So with that, new Ork stuff. Love you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, happy Crowman. Bye bye.